Hello, dear students. Today I'm here with the topic transportation in plants. In plants, the transportation or the movement of the substances like water, nutrients, minerals, as well as the food occurs by means of the two channels, and these two channels are xylem and the phloem. Xylem helps in the transport of water and minerals from the roots to different parts of the plants in one direction. So it means it is unidirectional, whereas phloem helps in the transport of food in the form of sucrose, amino acids from the leaves to different parts of the plant. So remember that the transport of substances through the phloem occurs in both the directions, so we call it the bidirectional transport. Both the xylem and phloem, they consist of certain components which are known as the xylem as well as the phloem elements. And xylem elements now, they are trachees, vessels, xylem parenchyma as well as the xylem fibers. Out of these four, the xylem parenchyma is only the living one, whereas the other one, they are the dead tissues. Vessels are found in the flowering plants, whereas trachees are found in the non-flowering plants like the gymnosperms. Vessels are the tubular structures now, and they are associated with the parenchyma. This parenchyma, which is associated with the xylem vessels, it also helps in the transport of water fibers. They provide the mechanical support. Coming to the phloem now, phloem consists of sieve elements, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fibers. Sieve elements, they are again of can be of two types. Number one, sieve cells and the sieve tubes. Sieve cells are found in the lower plants, whereas the sieve tube members, they are found in the higher ones. And these sieve tubes normally they help in the transport of the food within the plant. Sieve tubes now, remember here, these sieve elements and the phloem fibers, they are the dead tissues, whereas the companion cells and parenchyma, they are the living ones. Companion cells, as the name indicates, they are always found associated with the sieve tubes, and at maturity, you can say the nucleus of the companion cells, it maintains a control over the functioning of the sieve tubes. Phloem fibers, they provide the mechanical support, whereas the phloem parenchyma, it also help in the transport of food. Let us start now with the transport of water and minerals. The transport of water and minerals occurs in the plant by means of two ways. Number one, that is the root pressure, and the second is the transpiration pull. I have mentioned over here the ascent of sap. What is the meaning of this ascent of sap? It means the upward movement of the fluids along with the nutrients. So the xylem, it conducts, you can say, it transports the water and minerals from the roots to different parts of the plant body. We call it the ascent of sap. So root pressure now. Remember root pressure? It is a pressure, you can say, or it is a force, driven force, you can say, or hydrostatic pressure, which is developed in the cortical cells. And this pressure now pushes the water into the xylem up to a certain height. And this root pressure mostly occurs during the night time, and this root pressure due to this root pressure, this the water can be lifted only up to a certain height. Especially it works in the herbaceous plants. If you just see in the nature, you'll find there are some plants, especially during the monsoon, you'll find that early morning you'll find small droplets at their margins. Even you can see the tomato plant, the leaves, and these small droplets, what are they are the product of the root pressure. Excess water is being removed to the root margins. There are certain pores over there. You'll study about that in the higher classes especially. And this process is known as the guttation. Transpiration now pull. This transpiration pull, this is the force, you can say, a suction pressure by which the water is pulled upwards from the roots to different parts of the plants as a result of transpiration. The leaves keep on removing the water in the form of water vapor from the stomata, and as a result, a negative pressure is being exerted on the root xylem, and the water is being lifted upwards. When we are studying about the transpiration pool, we should know about, let us recall what is a transpiration now. It means it is the loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant to the stomata. Advantages of this transportation. First thing you can say, it helps in the ascent of sap in the tall trees. It's called the transpiration pull. It also helps in the cooling of the leaves. It it maintains, you can say, constant supply of ions to the leaves. It removes the excess water in the form of water vapor. Removes, you can say, excess water through the stomata. This is the diagram which is showing the transpiration pull also. The water is moving here. This water moves through the xylem to different parts of the plant. When it reaches the leaves through the stomata, it is being given out in the form of water vapor. Now, to understand this ascent of sap, we should know the anatomy also of the root. When we cut the section of a root, we find this type of structure. Here, these are the root hairs. And here, a single layer of cell, which is known as this protective layer, known as the epidermis. And here in the middle here, you can say this bluish one, this is the endodermis. And the reason between this epidermis and the endodermis, it is known as, this one is the cortex. Inner to the endodermis, what is there? You can see again an orange layer which is called the pericycle. This is the reason from where the lateral branches of the roots comes out. And inner to it, the pericycle, this is the vascular cylinder. And here you can see this portion, this is the xylem, and this portion is the phloem. The main aim to show this diagram is to how the water is being transferred, is being absorbed and then transported from cell to cell. I told you about the root pressure also, cell to cell, and finally leads into the xylem. Let us see in the next slide here. You can see now in this diagram, this is the root here. It is unicellular. It is made of a single cell, in fact. And this one is the soil. Now what happens? Due to the accumulation of the ions in the root here, what happens? The amount of water in the root hairs become less as compared to the soil. So the water will start moving through this membrane into the root hair. This process is known as the osmosis. And through the osmosis, you can see the water is absorbed by the root hair by the process of osmosis. And now the water, when it enters over here, so due to the differences in the water content, the water keeps on moving from one cell to the another, next, and finally goes to the endodermis and pericycle, and at last it goes in the xylem. When it enters into the root xylem, and from root xylem is connected to the stem xylem. It will go to the stem xylem, and from stem xylem, it will go to the leaf xylem. This is the way how the water is being transported. This is again a flow chart which shows the same thing. You can see here the root here, and then the root cortex is moving root here. It is coming through cortical cells to the root xylem. Then here the stem xylem, the leaf xylem, and here the stomata. And through the stomata, the excessive water, it moves out in the form of water vapor. We call it a transpiration. Let us now start studying about the transport of food. In plants, the transport of food is generally known as the translocation. So the food is being transported. Mainly the leaves are the site of photosynthesis, but the food is being formed in the form of simple sugars, especially the glucose is being formed. This glucose later on get converted into starch. But the starch cannot be transported because it's not soluble in water. So what happens? This food is being transported in the form of the sucrose. And this, when the sucrose is being transported, the sucrose has to be transported first of all to the phloem. When it is being transported to the phloem from the leaves, what happens? It requires energy, and that energy is the ATP. And due to this sucrose over there, the amount of, you can say, the solute increases, and as a result the water also diffuses in the phloem. So So now the sucrose dissolved the water, you can say it converts into sucrose solution. And in this way, sucrose solution, the water moves, the food moves through the phloem to the different parts of the plant. Second, you can say the phloem also helps in transport of the amino acids as well as the plant hormones. I've already mentioned the direction, or you can say the transport of food or substances through phloem occurs in both the directions. You can say with this transport is bi-directional. At last, you can see in this diagram the movement or unidirectional movement of water and minerals as through the xylem, as well as the bidirectional by means of this phloem. Here you can see the arrows showing downwards, and here the arrows pointing upwards. Okay, at last I would like to put up some questions to you. The first question is, transport of food in plants requires living tissues and energy. You have to justify this statement. Second question is, name the components of the food that are transported by the living tissues. Especially you have to mention in the plants now. Second question is, what do you understand by transpiration? Describe the role of transpiration in transportation. This is all for today. See you in the next PPT.